Thanks to all the subscribers. Please like, subscribe, and comment. With that out of the way, let's get into it. I'm a DI, deal time, Inglewood, double I, Smalls said. We're independent under the Blood Nation. We're independent cell under the Bloods Nation. Growing up in Church Hill, Smalls said the gang life in Central Virginia is widespread. With that, I have something different for you with this story. In February 2017, 3 former gang members shared their stories with 8 News about their lives on the streets and how they hope to convince others to steer clear of gang life. In a jail interview with WRIC, Damien King said he is currently an inactive member of the Blood Street Gang.
At the end of the day, it's engraved in my body, you know what I'm saying? I've been here for years. I'm known, so you see me on the streets, they see me on the streets, they know who I am. You know what I'm saying? There is no getting around it.
When asked how high up in the gang he is, he said that answer is not to be known.
I wasn't at the bottom, you know what I'm saying? I wasn't at the bottom. King said now he wants to keep others, especially young children, from going the same road he did, one riddled with violence. They told us we was just going to squash the beef, you know what I'm saying? You can't beef and get money. That was the ultimate thing. You can't beef and get money. We were just going to pull up, shoot the fat one, get it over with. That's just one-on-one fight. Fist up.
But their plan didn't go as planned.
It wasn't but about 5 of them, but then 10 to 15 of them came out of the cut. So that's when the weapons came out and I got the malicious wounding charge for stabbing. I stabbed an opposition, a Crip.
King has served time in prisons reserved only for the country's most violent offenders, including Red Onion State Prison, where the Beltway sniper Lee Boyd Malvo currently resides. King said he wished he could turn back the hands of time, and that family problems drew him to the gang life.
As an adolescent, I had trouble inside my household growing up. Without having a proper father figure or a positive guidance in my life, I went to what was my surroundings.
King was sentenced to 20 years after the fight where he stabbed the Crips gang member. He had all but 7 years suspended. King said he got jumped by other Blood members in prison, and when he retaliated, they sent him to Red Onion Prison in Wise County, Virginia. That violation also extended that 7 years to more than 10 years. King said what drew him to the gang was the brotherhood, someone always watching his back, but that the brotherhood crumbles when trouble comes knocking.
At the end of the day, the same people that I felt like I had a bond of camaraderie with were the same individuals told on me.
Even while King is inactive, he will be the first to tell you the saying of blood in, blood out is a way of life.
How you gonna get out? There is no getting out, because at the end of the day, the opposition that I was going against, they will catch me somewhere. They know who I am, they know what I did, what I was a part of. They ain't trying to hit at, you're not with it anymore.
King said ridding neighborhoods of gangs and that the families who are struggling to get by need major help.
These are people that didn't grow up with a silver spoon in their mouth. That is what people fail to realize. There are people that are hurting. These communities are hurting. So how are you going to tell these people that what they are searching for, they are doing it wrong? Ain't nobody leading by no positive example. Ain't nobody giving these people nothing to change their situation, put food in their refrigerator and cabinets, stop that baby from crying, and to put money in their pockets for their bills. Ain't nobody doing that but the people who are out there struggling with them. It don't get no realer than that.
William Smalls. Smalls is at the Richmond Justice Center, but because of the gang life, he served time in some of the country's most secure prisons. From isolation at the so-called hole, Smalls looks out over a city he said he used to run.
I'm a DI, deal time Inglewood, double I. We're independent under the Blood Nation, we're independent cell under the Bloods Nation.
Growing up in Church Hill, Smalls said the gang life in Central Virginia is widespread. Smalls said he is now what's called on ice, or not active, a role he plans to keep up once he's released later this year. Smalls said gangs get money for guns in whatever way they can.
Anywhere hustling, dope, coke, weed, backpage prostitution, whatever is necessary, whatever is selling at the moment. It was a heroin epidemic. Right now it's pushing over to a crack cocaine epidemic.
Smalls said the gang changes everything about a person, from the way they dress to the way they talk. Smalls said he wants to leave the gang life once and for all. He wants to tell parents to watch their children closely so they don't end up in his shoes.
30 years old sitting here talking to y'all, 16 years wasted on ganging, and I ain't got nothing to show for it. No Purple Heart, no nothing. By the time I realized it was a waste of time, I guess it's too late, ain't it? Yeah, I'm done.
Benjamin Potter was convicted on drug and larceny charges and sentenced to 14 years in prison. He said rehabilitation didn't happen during that time.
I ended up being housed with someone who was from California that was a blood, Potter said. I felt like at that time it kind of chose me. I didn't choose it.
That was all it took to become entrenched in gang life for the first time. Potter said it made people afraid of him in prison.
I was more attracted to the persona that it put off in prison, Potter said. When we would go from one area of the yard to another, everybody would move out of the way and get quiet. They were afraid. I was a West Coast blood, a bounty hunter.
But gang life behind bars tacked years onto Potter's sentence. He said one day a hit was put out for another man who had the same nickname as him, but because of a mistaken identity, violence erupted. Potter realized he had enough of gang life when his mother and grandmother died while he was still in jail.
My mother passed away in 2012, a month after my grandmother did, Potter said. They wouldn't let me go to the funeral because they felt that I was too far up in the hierarchy. I kind of started feeling like everything that I stood for and everything I was doing was counterproductive.
He said if it weren't for his choices behind bars, he would have been able to see his loved ones before they passed.
I had to go home and grieve all over again, and I kind of hold a resentment towards myself for that, Potter said.
Potter was eventually released, but he's now back in jail on non-gang related charges. He said he's left the gang life behind. Alani Kamal used to run with two violent East Coast street gangs named Sex Money and Murder and Black Mafia in a former life. Kamal said he thought he was tough then. Today, he's embarrassed by a photo showing him disrespecting law enforcement during his time in a gang.
I stopped because I was tired of going to prison, Kamal said.
Kamal, who now lives in Richmond, grew up on the tough streets of Newark, New Jersey, but he didn't join a gang until age 26 while he was serving time on Rikers Island in New York for a robbery. Once out of prison, Kamal, who came from a poor and broken family, said he thought he had finally found the family unit he had been longing for.
A lot of people say people get into gangs for protection, Kamal said. I got into gangs for the love and the camaraderie, and because of what was missing in my own family dynamic, they replaced it.
But some of that family started dying in the streets. After his gang activities landed him behind bars 3 more times, Kamal decided that enough was enough. During his final incarceration in Georgia, he vowed to live an honest life. When he got out, Kamal was homeless for a bit, took whatever jobs he could get, sometimes 5 at a time. He now owns his own business and believes life without the gang signs is better.
Sometimes it's not a bad idea to stand alone, Kamal said. If I got to stand with the bad crowd, I'd rather be by myself.
Now, 7 years out of prison, Kamal mentors those in jail and is a group facilitator for an inmate reentry program. Kamal said, as a community, we have to give kids an alternative. Like Sex Ed, he would like to see schools include a gang prevention course.
A lot of young kids, they are looking for security, Kamal said. They are looking for upbringing. They are looking for people to take a special interest in them, and gangs do that.
In the meantime, Kamal has his own message to anyone thinking about joining a gang.
Ain't nothing but death in prison, Kamal said. You get your respect, the only difference is it may be your last.
According to the government, in order to combat the growing gang violence issue in Virginia, on October 23rd, 2024, Governor Glenn Youngkin signed Executive Order 41, launching a new partnership to combat gang violence across Virginia. The initiative aims to address gang recruitment, drug and human trafficking, and firearm-related violence. Building on efforts like Operation Bold Blue Line and Operation Ceasefire, the new order focuses on prevention enforcement and community support. Virginia is facing threats from over 650 identified gangs. The order establishes a central gang intelligence task force, bolsters youth prevention efforts, and enhances law enforcement training. Officials credit these efforts for significant crime reductions. including a 34% drop in murders. Governor Youngkin emphasized the need to take gang prevention to the next level, focusing on safer communities and continued crime reduction. Secretary Terry Cole added that the strategy is a statewide effort aimed at stopping criminal activities linked to Mexican cartels, transnational gangs, and violent organizations. These efforts have already helped seize over 2,000 pounds of illegal narcotics valued at over $2 billion, including 415 pounds of fentanyl. This order represents a comprehensive approach to addressing one of Virginia's most pressing crime issues. And as always, although there are convictions in this matter, I must stress that an indictment is not evidence of guilt. Charges are only allegations, and each defendant is presumed innocent unless and until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe. Blessings. Luke 17:3-4. If your brother sins, rebuke him, and if he repents, forgive him.